Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, kings and queens of the land. Good morning, the royals, the most respected people in the channel. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to the liberated zones in Africa, the liberated zones. Let me start by acknowledging Niger in the Sahel under the leadership of President Abdurrahman Tian, followed by Mali under the leadership of President Assimi Goita, and then Burkina Faso under the leadership of President Ibrahim Traore, who had recently expropriated land without compensation to give to his people. Greetings to you, sons and daughters of the soil. My name is Mngoni Mkonto, and this is the Royal Opinion. I have recently tried to. Thank you very much, Ken Kon. Ken Kon. Saying morning leader. Thank you very much. Morning to you, and thank you for joining. Um, uh, I did not see you on our previous live stream. I actually spoke about something very, very important. It's just that, these days when I try to speak, they take me down. This channel is highly censored. If you can click the like button, um, just to make sure that we spread the video to more people. Thank you very much. Today we're talking about why did President Julius Malema, the CIC of the EFF, lie openly about President Zuma? What is his benefit? What is the game that is playing? But we're also gonna talk about um, uh, what is the fear of all of these people? Why do they mislead us as people to believe the wrong things in their propaganda, in their why do they do all of this? What is the end game? We're also going to talk about it a little bit. I actually tried to talk about VAT, but the problem is, actually, let me just talk a little bit about, because there's a postponement which happened of a budget speech. I tried to speak about a lot of things about VAT, but it became a little bit difficult because they immediately take my channel down. But let me try and talk about it again. First, let me say the right government or the good government of South Africa or the government of black people should not tax its citizens. If they know how to run a business, South Africa is a very huge business. They should not be taking from people. So let me explain why do they take from people, even though South Africa is very rich, they can actually sell uh, public resources and be able to raise funds to run government. So they are not selling. They are not treating South Africa as a business. They are treating it as a slave country which has to be indebted to the Western countries. VAT was introduced, let me say, in the first instance when VAT was introduced, it was called the poll tax. The poll tax meaning a head tax, a head tax meaning they had to tax black people for existing in the land in which the queen has captured. If you are existing in the land where the queen is captured, then you needed to be taxed because you owe your existence to the queen. So that was how the head tax was started. So they were taxing black people, and the reason they targeted black people is because they wanted to force black people to go and work for white people. Black people did not have money to pay for the tax because black people were not using the currency. Black people did not have the currency to pay the tax in which the white man wanted to be paid. The white man demanded that his taxes should be paid in cash, and of which the black man did not have the cash. So he was forced to go and work for the white man in order to raise money to pay the tax. That was the strategy that they employed. And also to ensure that the black man is raising the money to keep the white man in comfort. This was the colonial administration which started the head tax. So it actually created a lot of suffering in black people, even up to today, 500 years later. The suffering has never stopped. The tax has never stopped, though it changed names over time. Today it's called value added tax, but it's still the same tax paying the queen for existing in South Africa. That is the reason for the VAT. Black people were taxed for many issues, different issues. Black people were taxed even for owning a bicycle. Black people were taxed for owning a dog, for cows, for cattle. They were taxed in order to force them to work for the colonial economy, in order to force them to become slaves. So the right government of black people should actually stop collecting from black people, because black people have been suffering for too long, and the European countries have actually benefited too much from black people since colonial time. Even today, we are still paying these colonial tax. These are colonial taxes. The money goes straight to the IMF. South Africa is servicing its interest in the IMF. I mean, we owe trillions of rands to the IMF. In the month, they are only servicing the debt. They are only, because South Africa owes about over 300 billion US dollars in the IMF. That's how they are running the country. They are running South Africa on debt. Why is South Africa on debt? Nobody knows, because South Africa has got massive resources which can be sold, um, and the profits be taken to pay all of the debts and be able to take care of the citizens in South Africa. Follow the money. When President Ramaphosa took over as president of South Africa, the first thing that he did was to raise the VAT from 1% to from 14% to 15%. The VAT has remained from 14% at 14% since 1993. The colonial collection, the colonial VAT, or the colonial tax, let me call it that way, the colonial tax has remained at 14% from 1993 during the white people until 2018, 1st of April. President Zuma resigned on February, 15th of February. On the 1st of April, President Ramaphosa raised the taxes from 14% to 15% for the first time in the democratic South Africa that the colonial tax has been raised. The head tax, meaning the tax that you pay for existing in South Africa, for owing your allegiance to the Queen, the tax that you pay for your existence in South Africa was just raised from 14% to 15%. That is a very significant amount. That amount, let's install, let's say, morning royal opinion. Great, you are back. Thank you very much. I've been here. It's just that these people are not sending notification. Please click the notification button as well, so that when I come live, you'll be able to get in. So um, after raising that amount of VAT to 14%, uh, white people managed to collect 23 billion rands extra from black people. The colonial master managed to take 23 billion rand in one financial year. In that very financial year that they actually did this, Ramaphosa was only sponsored by only was only bought. President Ramaphosa was bought by only 1 billion rand. When he came in, immediately the people who bought him recovered their money immediately by 23 billion extra collection that he did on from poor people. The tax that they are taking tax from women for buying, the women who are buying pads when they are in their periods. They tax that because black people must be taxed for going through their natural process. Black people must pay the white men for going through their natural process. It was not supposed to, uh, that one was not supposed to be taxed. Nobody is supposed to tax a toilet paper. If you are, they are not supposed to tax a toilet paper. They are not supposed to tax pads. You can't tax people for doing what is natural. People should be taxed for doing things that is not natural. In actual fact, nobody should be taxed. Only maybe those who, if alcohol should be banned, people who drink alcohol should not be taxed. The alcohol should just be banned. Lesson Stoller says, have been following that Rob Hartsoff is advocating for. This country need selfless people, otherwise we are doomed. The government which has to come in uh, has to run this country like a business, because South Africa has got a lot of resources. Ibrahim Traore is showing an example of what a country can do. What a country can do what people can do when they use their own resources profitable to themselves. President Ibrahim Traore is showing he's not talking about uh, expropriating land without compensation for years. He has expropriated land without compensation. He's not talking about uh, mineral beneficiation for years. He's building plants to process gold in Burkina Faso. He's not talking about uh, creating manufacturing companies for tomato paste, or he's building. Many African leaders says Africa should unite. I don't know who should unite Africa. If they are only saying Africa should unite and that's it, who should do it? Who is refusing the unity of Africa? If Africa should unite, why is it not uniting? Who is refusing? So Julius Malema went on to lie about President Zuma. He said President Zuma raised the tax from 14% to 15%. This is intentional selective amnesia that Malema is suffering from. Malema knows how bad it is to collect this colonial tax from black people. It's actually evil. That it's an evil uh, act by the evil people who wanted to dismantle the stability of black people by forcing them into the slave wages. Because if you can't pay your tax in cash, then you are not allowed to exist. You will have to go to prison. You will have to do this and that. So they had to go and work for the slave wages in order to pay the tax. They did not want the money because black people were self sufficient. Each unit of family was self sufficient. Black people were independent. There was no body providing services for them. They would be there, each family would be able to provide services for themselves. We all know that food is the basic unit of life. Food being the basic unit of life, these people are taxing the food, which we call the basic unit of life. Most of the tax goes to the food. Black people are being, they have to pay the queen for eating. You have to buy the product, but as well, there's certain amount which is taken from you, which does not go to the payment of the product, goes to the money which has to be taken by the IMF, paying the queen for having your lunch, paying white people, uh, because you owe your existence to them. Every time you eat, you should pay them. That is evil. It should be stopped. That's what I'm talking about. That is evil. It should be stopped. So President Julius Malema goes out and lie about President Zuma, knowing exactly how evil is this thing, and he wants to taint the image of President Zuma so that he looks exactly like President Ramaphosa, or is trying to cleanse the image of President Ramaphosa from his evil deeds and attributing those evil deeds to President Zuma. President Ramaphosa is the one who raised the colonial tax from 14% to, that's what I'm going to call it, colonial tax. They call it value added tax. It's a lie. It's actually a colonial tax. So I'll call it what it is. It's a colonial tax. So the colonial tax had remained at 14% from 1993 until 2018, when President Ramaphosa took over. The first thing, even before he finished 2 months in office, he raised the colonial tax to 15%, meaning the collection that they have to do on black people for just eating, the collection they have to do on black women for just going on their payrolls, the collection they have to do on old people when they are sick. You still owe the queen when you are sick, because they still have to collect when you buy your medicine, your medication. They still have to collect. So Julius Malema lied. He said President Zuma is the one who raised the tax from 14% to 15%, knowing exactly that it was President Ramaphosa, attributing these evil deeds to President Zuma intentionally. Why does Julius Malema lie intentionally about President Zuma? Is he a sellout to the white man as implementation of soft power in South Africa? Is he working against the people of South Africa or against black people in order to enrich his pocket like his brother Cyril Ramaphosa? I think so. I think Julius Malema has sold out to the white people. That's why he select to lie about President Ramaphosa intentionally. He knows how bad and how damaging it is for him to have that statement, to say that statement, intentionally lying in front of everybody uh, about something that is well aware, because he knows exactly what happened, but intentionally he lies about, because he sold out to the white man. He became the house slave. Click the like button and subscribe. This type of content is highly censored. So it will help us if you click the like button and subscribe. So the drama which is playing out in Parliament at the moment, let me talk about that before I go in depth on the other issue. The drama which is currently happening in Parliament, the issue that uh, uh, led to the postponement of the budget speech. The DA and the ANC are in good terms. The GNU is in good strength. There's nothing happening in the GNU. It's just the drama that they are trying to play. The intention is to raise the VAT from 15% now to 16%. That is the intention. That is their target. But the finance minister comes and play the bargaining drama. He comes and say he leaks information that is going to raise the taxes by 2%. And then they come and postponed the budget speech as if they did not agree that the collection should rise by 2%. Should the collection rise by 2%, immediately they are able to collect 40 billion, more than 40 billion from black people just for existing. They are collecting, they will be able to collect 45 billion from black people for just existing. So the reason he's proposing 4% is just a bargaining game. The actual reason, the actual number they want is actually 16%. So they come and play so that people of South Africa will feel like they are represented by the Democratic Alliance. The Democratic Alliance does not want South African to suffer. They actually fought the ANC to help us to be able to reduce the will of the ANC to actually 16%. They actually want to force this thing into the throat of South Africans, thinking that there's some victory that South Africa or black people have achieved through this drama that they are trying to play. It's just a drama. These people, they do agree. There's no conflict between them. They want to collect. They want to raise the collection to 16% now, but they have to play the drama in order to sustain the lies, and in order to confuse more South African to think that there's somebody who represent them, and there's somebody who actually fought for them to reduce the colonial tax to 16%. In actual fact, the colonial tax would have been raised to 16%, not reduced. But people will feel like the colonial tax has been reduced to 16%. That's how they want black people to feel. The colonial tax has been reduced to 16%. The psychology that they're playing, uh, because now they're putting it at 17%, and the DA is fighting, the EFF is fighting, according to how they are playing this game, so that we feel like there's some victory. Yeah, that South African, while we actually lost billions to the Queen for just existing in our land, for just existing in our land, we owe their collection. The right leadership should not be collecting, should actually be raising money and be making profit in order to run services of black people, free services to black people. In order to give free services to black people, uh, the country should be run to make profit. the minerals. Instead of looking to collecting from individuals, they should look at taking over the land and taking over the minerals, in order to sell these minerals to outside countries who are taking it for free at the moment and raising the money to take care of the old people and to take care of the vulnerable children. Stop food industrialization. Food is the basic unit of life. Let everybody plant their own food in their own corner. This is very dangerous for people to. Banks and white monopoly companies must pay more tax. We need to force them to pay back the money they made from the rent manipulation. You talk about rent manipulation. The collection of VAT is criminal. There's no justification that you should collect from people for no reason, for just existing. There's no justification that you should collect from black women when they go on their periods. You can't justify that. There's no justification for this criminal act. It's just that people uh, are under operation. What can we do? We are under operation. We have to pay the queen for existing. So you are talking about things that will never be achieved under this colonial administration. Let us remember this colonial administration. Let us be clear what is happening. Uh, South Africa is under the British colonial administration. This colonial administration was set up in 1910 as the Union of South Africa. This was a colonial uh, setup which excluded black people, which excluded the majority of black people. This colonial setup still remain. The greatest legacy of colonialism is landlessness and VAT collection. Tax collection and landlessness, those are the main benefits of the white settlers from black people. Over 500 years, can you imagine how much they have made in the past? In the past, I mean, since Ramaphosa in 2018, since he increased the VAT collection to 15%, from 14 to 15%, he has increased the collection by 23 billion each year, meaning he's been able to collect uh, from 2018 up until 27 years, 20, we can say 7 times 24 by estimate. We take an average of 24. 7 times 24. 7 times 20, it's obvious, over 140 billion that they have been additionally been able to steal from black people for just existing. You cannot tax people for existing. They have made us to accept uh, something which does not make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. There's nobody who should collect from people for just existing. No, you can't. You should not collect from people just because they exist. Industrialization, food industrialization is the one which started all of this. Is the one which created stupid people, stupid South Africans, because of food poisoning. Because what is put in those GMO food, the poison which we consume from all of these GMO foods and all of these other uh, dangerous stuff that we consume that comes from our enemies, is the one that has created. Because, as we say, food is the basic unit of life. We have created a different type of life because of using wrong material to build ourselves. The human body need food to build itself and to sustain itself. The human body needs food. So if you put the wrong amount, or not the wrong amount, the wrong type of food in the body, then the body will not be able to operate at its maximum capacity. The body will not be able to operate the way it should be operating. Your mind will not be able to see the things that it was supposed to clearly see. If we stop food industrialization, we will stop a lot of sicknesses, because all of these food industries is the one that created the pharmaceutical industry. The food industry created the pharmaceutical industry. President Zuma, the reason President Zuma, the reason Julius Malema lies about President Zuma, it's because President Zuma, instead of industrialization, President Zuma wants indigenization. Indigenization means let black people produce their own food. Let them go back to to their culture, where they were eating natural food that occurs in their areas. That is indigenization. Let black people stop eating their genetically modified food. That's the only way to become clever against the system, and that's the only way to be able to see more of what the evil things that the system is doing. And that's the only way to move away from cowardness and to exist for better things than just being coward. Many will not say what I'm saying because they will feel that the next minute they will be dead. People are coward. It could happen that the next minute you are kidnapped. Does it matter? So the reason Julius Malema is lying about President Zuma is because President Zuma wants to restore black people to uh, their full potential, which will restore health in the black community if we stop food industrialization, if we stop the currency, if we go back to the life in which black people were living, which was agricultural based economy. The value of life, value of life was more important than that of resources. Life was more important than the resources by then. The nature is restoring itself to that fact. People will achieve energy independence. People will achieve independence from governments. The power is dismantling the colonial structures, and the colonial masters are actually in chaos. At the moment, it's very difficult to keep control on black people since the information is out there. Everybody knows about them, everybody knows what they do. So it's difficult to maintain the lies. Uh, they have said it. They said they are funding, USAID is funding Boko Haram. They are funding terrorism across the world using USAID. USAID is paying terrorist organizations. They said it. Who is the terrorist? Is it Traore or the other people? Who is the terrorist? Is it Mali or France? Who is the terrorist? Is it President Zuma or the British who are funding terrorism? Why are not why is the African Union not commenting about this? Why is the African Union not condemning USA for funding terrorism? Who is the African Union? Who does it represent? What is the purpose of the African Union? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Before I get all over, I just wanted to talk about this information. I hope everybody has managed to capture what I was trying to, the key thing that I wanted to convey. Ah, man. Morning, morning, Cynthia Malope saying, morning, Royals. It's actually you are late. You are late for the lesson. You need to go back and watch the lesson. I'm actually on conclusion. I'm actually done with the lesson. We were talking about um, several things. First, I was giving a deep background about the evil system, the collection of tax, how it started, why is these people collecting, what was the reason they started the collection. Did the collection stop? No, the collection is still going on even up to today. The colonial tax, today called the value added tax. They also have another tax called individual tax, just being taxed for working in the land of the British Queen, in the land in which the British Queen has captured. For working in that land, you have to be taxed. You have to pay your respect and homage to the British Queen. South Africa is still under the colonial rule of the British and is still under the imperial rule of the United States of America. That's basically the point that I was trying to raise and showed clearly that the VAT is a colonial tax which was started immediately when the colonial administration was set up in South Africa. They started collecting because they did not have money to run the administration. They wanted to generate money by um, enslaving black people, and that's what they did successfully. Up to today, the black people are still paying this colonial tax. Thank you very much for joining the show. Click the like button and subscribe. Don't forget to click the like button. This is the best analysis that you can get in the internet. Nowhere else where this type of analysis is available, political analysis is available. Big up, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your day. We'll end here.